Okay, we're recording, hopefully. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. This is episode 114, and even though it's titled We Don't Know Yet, we're going to talk about EULAs, End User License Agreements. We're not going to read it to you. I mean, Tom may, but we're going to talk about what they mean. Like, yeah, we have a EULA. Tom's going to make one up as we speak.
Yes.
And we're going to go from there. It's a lot of just policy, different types of things, because you know what? We are getting more connected. We're using our works are giving us stuff, and just to better protect you from what your rights are, what your rights are not. And anyway, but before we start, just quickly some plugs. First off, our WhatsApp chat is growing. We want you in. We love it. It's great. It's the best chat app ever. There's going to be no better chat app. I don't know. Am I
This is it. This is the end. There is no more.
Anyway, so if you want in, find us, message us, tweet us, anything, we'll get you in. We're having a lot of fun in it. Second, Google All Access or Google Music added us as a podcast now. So update your Google Play Music app, and podcasts are there, and you can subscribe through there. So hopefully that's another avenue to get us, even though I do recommend Pocket Casts as your app of choice. I really do like those guys. So, Tom, it's been a while to bring you in. Let's go. What are we talking about?
Well, first, before we get into this, our listeners must agree that anytime they see one of us in public, they must give us a high five, at least one per day. And it can be limited to just that one per day. Also, per one lifetime of enjoyment of this show in its entirety, we are owed one beer at a security conference of our choice, if they happen to be in the area. So if you accept this license agreement, you may continue listening to the podcast. If you don't, well, you can keep listening anyway. I don't know how we would enforce this. We don't have lawyers.
Well, I am married to one, but that's a different story.
Yeah, see, this is great. So we have lawyers, and you do owe us that beer.
So anyway, it's one of those things. The iTunes EULA is famously 40 pages long, and they say don't do bad things. So you can print it out, and they offer you the printout, but I don't think anyone has ever printed it out. I don't think Tim Cook himself has read it, and he's an operational guy. I don't think he's read it. But there are famous cases. For example, when Google Docs first came out, one of the parts in their EULA, and I think the EFF or some privacy advocates jumped on them right away and said, well, the EULA said anything you write in Google Apps belongs to us. And that caused a big kerfuffle, if that's a word. And they eventually changed it to say, no, you own it, and you don't have to give us anything about it.
Right. A lot of these internet companies use, some boilerplate to say, hey, our lawyers told us to put this in here. Basically, what they're asking for is they're asking for the ability to take something that you give them, whether it's documents or pictures or a video feed like this, to take it, spread it amongst their servers and data centers, and then send it out to other people if you want them to do that, which is, kind of the whole point of using Google Docs or something like Blab, which we're on right now. So I'm sure Blab has got a clause that says, hey, let us take your stuff and distribute it around the internet and send it back out. But the way that's written a lot of the times says we own and can do anything with this that we like, because it's really open-ended and allows them to, distribute across nodes, to make backups, to ship it across international wires, to put it on tapes, like backup tapes. But some internet companies, like Google, have gotten a little bit smarter in their wording to not anger the privacy people. I know Twitter famously went through a big change where they said, hey, look, you own all of tweets. Anything you put on Twitter, you own. And I'm not sure if it's still that way today, but it was a pretty big deal when they said it originally.
Well, I don't know if you remember the Facebook wall posting. So it's a very famous Snopes thing. People took some legalese and says, anything I post here, this is my way of telling you that you cannot mine my data by posting this legalese on your Facebook wall. And it didn't hold anything, but people just kept sharing it on the off chance that it actually may stand for something. And you had to tell them, please, just stop. You agree to their terms by using the service, not for anything else.
Yeah, it's you can't. I'm trying to come up with a good analogy, but I can't right now. It just doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. If I put a thing on Twitter, which I will today, saying if you by reading this tweet you agree to high five me if you see me, that doesn't mean you have to high five me. I'm going to get a whole lot of high fives in the office.
You're gonna get a DDoS high five.
Yeah, everyone's just going to come up and start hitting me. But it doesn't work that way. Now, how do you know what's on a service that you use? There is a website that breaks down these EULAs into nice little check marks that says, they want this, they don't want this, they do guarantee you this, they don't guarantee you that. And I need to search for it because I have totally blanked on the site. But no one has time to read EULAs. No one does read EULAs. To use iTunes, it's 40 pages of EULA. I kind of understand that because iTunes is a giant mess right now, but it's still a little bit on the extreme side.
Look, most people, you tell them, hey, look, don't use our stuff illegally. We're not going to use your stuff illegally. We're going to use your stuff to make our service better. And you know what? Why can't the EULA be, don't be a jerk? I think that should be the EULA. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a troll. Don't be a jerk. Use it for this intended purpose. Instead of, please, these are the intended purposes. And then you list a million different things. They're trying to cover themselves because you may hear once that this company took this data mining set and they're using it to tailor an ad towards you. And you're like, but I didn't give you permission to do that. So they have to say it out. And they're checking for everything just to make sure that you don't come back in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years and sue them.
Right. It's a big lawyer thing. I mean, if we don't write end user licensing agreement for end users, they're not written for end users. They're written for the end user's lawyer when the end user decides to sue the company. And the lawyer has to look at it and go, no, you totally agreed to everything they just did. So sorry. Now, there is case law in U.S. courts where it says that in an end-user licensing agreement, you can't do anything illegal. You can't say, by the way, by using this application, you agree to give us your organs when you die. That's illegal. You can't do that. You can't just harvest organs from every iTunes user around. You can't go full South Park just because someone didn't read the licensing agreement. And that's still upheld today. But how do you know if you're a normal user what someone actually wants, what a company actually expects of you using that service? I'd like to point out there's a great website, TOSDR, which is a great little thing. It means terms of service didn't read. And it breaks down these giant documents into really, really easy to digest, thumbs up or thumbs down or red X kind of bullet points. So let's take GitHub, for instance. You don't grant any copyright to GitHub. Good. That means you own the stuff you put on there. But they do say, hey, look, changes to this or this site or the service could happen at any time, and we don't have to provide notice. And you shall defend and indemnify GitHub. So you can't sue them if something goes wrong. And your account can be suspended and your stuff deleted at any time for any reason. That's kind of Google, and they give grades. So Google is a class C, YouTube is D, GitHub gets a B, DuckDuckGo gets an A. Their EULA says no tracking. It's really great. Some things, popular things, don't have classifications yet, like Wikipedia or Facebook or Yahoo or all of the Microsoft services. But it's a good thing to look through. They've still got the bullet points, and it's very helpful.
The problem is it doesn't look like it's been updated in a very long time.
No? Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, their last post was July 2015. But
oh, okay.
And the problem is that, yeah, these privacy policies have changed. But yes, we've been recommending this site for a while, saying, yes, if you want to know what these things say, because that's the problem. Nobody goes through and says it. They just, their eyes gloss over and their eyes gloss over. That's basically it. And say, yeah, whatever, just get me through it. And it's been known to put in EULAs like really funny things, like you said, where you're going to high five a developer every time you see them.
I remember there was a game company, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who. In the EULA of their game, they said in the bottom paragraph, they said, by installing this game, you owe the developers your soul and everything that includes. And people that emailed the developers said, hey, I installed your game, but I do not agree with this bottom portion of the EULA. They sent them like a box with T-shirts and stickers and game, swag and stuff that they could play with and have, because they said, you read the EULA. Thank you for being a good, responsible person, and shipped them a box of stuff. They were really excited that someone read it. But why do companies have this? It's not just to annoy us. It's not just to wreck us in court. There's a lot of self-protection built in. So, for instance, YouTube has an API. They need language in there. If you're destroying YouTube by using their API to pull everyone's videos down and re-upload them with your own title, then that's against the terms of service. They need a reason, without you being able to sue them for damages. They need a reason to be able to pull your account and all your stuff down, or remove your stuff for copyright infringement. Even if you're making ad money off of it, which there are damages there if they take it away, if they pull it off of YouTube. They need legal language to protect themselves.
I mean, I wish that. You're right. They need legal language. I wish a lot of it was in plain English. And even when they have, here's our plain English terms of service, they're still complicated. And once again, it's tough. But I don't think this was the full topic. We wanted to talk about EULAs at the beginning, and then we wanted to change it to, I forgot what you said, corporate acceptance policies, acceptable use policies.
So if you work in a big company, or you've ever worked in a big company, chances are when you boot on your computer, you slap Control-Alt-Delete, you get a box that pops up and it says it's got a bunch of legalese mumbo jumbo in it, and you hit OK and you just ignore it. That text can be important to you, and it's definitely important to your employer. And if not your employer, your employer's lawyers is who that's important to. Basically, most companies have got an acceptable use policy of some kind, whether it's in an employee handbook or it's shown to you on the computer when you log in every day. Most employers have a set of rules and guidelines that say what you can and cannot do with that system, and who the content belongs to on that system or developed using that system, which can have a lot of weird implications.
It's our school is going through a few different versions of this. They have one from a few years ago, and I've said, hey, look, I think we need to change it because a lot has happened in the last few years. But basically, when you connect to Wi-Fi, it's basically when you connect for Wi-Fi, they say you're using this Wi-Fi and we have fair use to do anything we want with the data. When you go to work, or they hand you a phone and they say, this is your work phone. This phone is ours and we're handing it to you. Basically, what they're saying is it's their phone. And whatever you do on said phone is theirs.
Right. So if you have a company phone and they say, yeah, you can use this, you can do anything you want to it, it's yours, but it's primarily for work stuff. Or even if they say, hey, don't do anything to this phone because it's for work stuff, and you decide to, text your buddies and, go out for drinks, or God forbid you do something really dumb, like something illegal, and text your drug dealer, or people do crazy things with phones. Then the company has all the legal recourse in the world to take that phone, take its contents, take any transmissions it has made, and own those, and use those for anything, whether it's use them legally to pursue a case, or use them to fire you, use them to demote you, or whatever. You can really use anything that the company owns. The company can use it for just about any purpose. So be careful what you do on company-owned devices. You might even be giving up access to your personal accounts by using company devices.
Well, another simply thing is basically imagine your boss behind you anytime you do something. And not only behind you, but a digital log is kept of everything you do. So if you're looking at Amazon when you should be working, or you're on Twitter when you shouldn't be on Twitter, or you're checking your personal email, they're going to see that. And the first thing you're going to say is, but what about HTTPS? Or what about secure browser? Can they see everything? And the short answer is yes. They're entitled to see everything that you do. They're entitled to keylog. They're entitled to do anything they want because they own the computer. They are giving you access to do your job on it. And they're covering themselves by saying, hey, look, we do this. Because if something does happen, law enforcement is going to go to them and say, well, what do you have? And they have to provide something. So you want to just make sure that you understand that when you're given a work phone, or when you're given a computer at work to use, or when you're on the internet and you're surfing around, just remember the company has access to everything you do on it.
Right. And, HTTPS might work in some instances. It might not. So the company might have, given you a laptop. Of course, they own their own network hardware. So they could be using a proxy server, and they have a cert built in on that machine. So when you go to a website, it connects to the proxy, even through HTTPS, because they've installed the cert, right? It goes through the proxy and then out to the internet. So now that company at will is breaking, intercepting, and looking at HTTPS connections. They are looking at whatever you do. Let's say they don't have a proxy. Let's say they're not inspecting traffic. They're not man-in-the-middling you at all. Can they still find out where you're going? Can they find out that you go to Facebook 17 times a day? Yes, HTTPS does not protect you from host names. You can still see the initial TLS connection going out to Facebook. So every time you hit enter in the browser or click it, in your bookmarks, then you're establishing a secure connection to Facebook. That is logged. That is clear text. Now, they can't see where you're going. So if you go to Wikipedia and you're looking up, the cool parts about, or the cool things in Star Wars that people didn't know about, they can see that you've made a connection to Wikipedia. They can't see what's after the slash. They can't see the big long URL. That's protected. That's encrypted. But the host name is not.
They can see your email. They can see that you're on Gmail, but they don't know what you're actually sending.
Right.
But unless
that's if they're not using a proxy. And
if they're using a proxy, which again, they're entitled to do it, you have to worry about that. And here's the thing: the company is you want to imagine that the company is not out to get you. They're worried about their data retention policy, and they're worried about their own self-interest. They don't want law enforcement to come and say, this person planned this horrible, horrific thing from work. What do you have? And the answer is nothing.
Right. I mean, the company is extremely liable. Let's say you've got a health insurance company and someone decides to, send a spreadsheet full of personal health information to themselves at home so they can finish their work when they leave the building for the day. Well, they send it to themselves in Gmail, and let's say they use, password 123 as their password. Their account gets hacked, and now those people's data it's out in the open. It is gone. It is spread out through the internet. It is totally out in the wild. If the company isn't trying to guard against that, if they don't know what happened to it or where it went or why that user did what they did, or if they can't come back on the user, if they never said, hey, don't this, then the company is liable for that. Right? In some cases, the company can even sue the individual for damages that they caused to the company. In some egregious cases. I don't think that's common. I'm not a lawyer, but just know that it is a possibility.
The other issue is, so the other thing they're checking is data exfiltration. If you're a disgruntled employee, that's also what they're preventing. They don't want you to send stuff. They don't want you to send stuff home. That's why when you connect, when they say, oh, you can work from home today, they make a VPN. They give you that little dongle and say, this is how you connect. What you're essentially doing is you're connecting to their server and doing the work. They're trying to make sure that data doesn't also leave the company. So they're trying to protect themselves as well. And if you're a disgruntled employee and you're trying to sell data, you have to get it out. And hopefully they have a security team monitoring the traffic, seeing what's going on and what's not.
Right. And there are automated ways. I mean, just about every data exfiltration inspection device will be completely automated. Now, how effective it is, it doesn't catch everything. If you are trying to send, personal health information out of your work email to someone else on the outside, chances are it'll catch it. Now, if you are sending ping requests, which take arbitrary strings of data of varying size. If you're just sending arbitrary ping requests out to a domain and you have a server set up on that domain and it is designed to capture the pings and then collate the random noise data of the ping back into those files, you might be able to get away with it. There are actually some really cool data exfiltration libraries to let you do stuff like, I'm going to load up this file and then just ping it out to another server to, you set up a DNS server and you query it for a response. And every time you query it, it gives you a different string of DNS data. And then you put that together and you've got your file. Really cool stuff. But just keep in mind that most companies are guarding against this, or many companies are guarding against this. And if you send something to yourself at home, you might be completely innocent. It might just be, hey, I need to get this done. I sent it to myself at home so I could get to it. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. But the company could still fire you for that, or press charges, or cause legal ramifications in your life.
Look, most companies that my friends work at, I've asked them, so what are your policies? And a lot of them are, hey, look, we understand you can't work 8 hours a day. Just get your work done. And most of the time they don't care. I don't think most companies are putting I don't think they're putting proxies, or if they are, they're just automated and nothing's going on. If companies giving you an allowance for a phone, they're saying, here's your phone. We don't want you to dual wield phones, because what happens is you turn once you put your phone at home in your little sock drawer there for the next day, you're going to turn it off. And we want to be able to maybe check your email after dinner at some point. So they're saying, here, do this. They're trying to make your life easier. And I commend them for that. But remember, they're still able to do that. So you just have to be careful of what you're doing, which leads me to the question I asked Tom before the show. So let's say your employer says, here's $45, here's $50 for data. You bring your own phone. Do whatever you want with it. That's fine. And let's say you do something bad and the court now says, we need that phone. Or the company says, we need this data. I ask, can't they go backwards? If they want to see your email, the company has the email. What about if you have iMessage, they can go to Apple and get the iMessages if they really need it. If you want Slack, they can get the Slack. But can they ask for the phone?
It depends. As with anything legally, we are not lawyers. We're not a team of lawyers. We're not your lawyer. We are just people, and we speculate a lot. That's basically all we do on this show is speculate. But the chance does exist that they could ask for your phone and get it and be perfectly within their legal rights to obtain it. It depends on your acceptable use policy. I know at a previous company I worked at, we never stated in our use policy that we would take the phone. We did state that we reserve all rights to remotely lock and remotely wipe the phone if we feel the need to. Now, we at my previous company, we only did this once when someone said, it was a coffee shop and it was there and then it wasn't. And we're like, okay, company data, phone explodes. It doesn't really explode. It just, erases the phone nicely. But it worked and it works great. And the company, depending on which service they use, depending on what apps they load on your phone, because they might require you not only to, carry the phone and make sure your company email is on it, which comes with its own set of requirements. Most of them include remote wipe of some kind, but they might also say, hey, you also need this app on your phone. That app could be responsible for anything. It could do just about anything. You should assume that if your company has made you put an app on your phone, that it's essentially rooting the phone. There's a thing in Android world, well, let's just say in mobile phone world, called MDMs, or mobile device management. These are applications or big enterprisey things where IT has got one side of it, they've got the management interface, and your phone has got a little client app, and it controls everything from location services to your lock screen PIN code to wiping the device to looking at things to making sure that you've got certain apps loaded or not loaded on the phone at any one time. And they're really helpful for IT because if they want to say, hey, the company is moving to this new meeting app, we're going to push GoToMeeting or whatever onto your phone, and now you just have it. You don't have to go out and download it when you have your next meeting. But those applications also have the ability to control or watch or do really anything they want to your device. If they want to change your lock screen on your phone, change your PIN, they can absolutely do that remotely without any involvement on your own. Just grab it.
They can also wipe your phone on Friday at 5 o'clock when you're being called into your boss's office with please turn in your key card. Your personal effects have been delivered down to the basement. Your phone is now wiped, and your baby and your photos on there because you didn't have a chance to get them off. Is on there. So you also have to worry about that. And again, it's in their right to do that. So we're talking about all this doom and gloom. I got one more doom and gloom scenario, and then whatever time we have left, we'll try and give some suggestions. Last thing, any work product you do on your computer or on your phone becomes property of the company. So if you're doing something for a different client, a competing client, any client, and they find it, and it's patentable or licensable, they're going to go after you because you're doing it on their time or on their work product. So just be aware that if you're writing a competitive software or competitive anything or doing something else privately, it's theirs.
Right. If you're writing code, if you're making artwork, if you're a graphic designer, if you're making artwork and you're not a graphic designer, if you're building a video game on your work computer, or if you're building a video game on company time, be aware that they can own it depending on what they've got in their acceptable use policy. And I'll give you a little spoiler. They all have this in their acceptable use policy. Anything you do on company equipment or company time, they own, right? It's usually terms of your employment that say, if you build something here, if you make something here, we own it. And that's to prevent from the company's side, it's not evil. It really protects the company because let's say you're an engineer and you're building this cool thing and, oh, sweet, I can patent this and make a whole bunch of money, but you did so on the company's time while the company was paying you with the company resources on the company machine with the company's version of AutoCAD. Yes, the company should own that. You can't just run off and patent the cool thing you made in your own name and get rich quick. No, the company owns that. And it's to protect them from anything a short-sighted or nefarious employee might do.
So we want to leave that with you, but there has to be some sort of solutions. And they may not be the easiest solutions because, like we said, privacy and security are not simple and or convenient. So look, I've been talking about dual wielding, getting an old Nexus 4 and putting my my work email on that because right now I'm not entitled to having work email on my phone, but I have a feeling in the next year or so they're gonna allow me to do that. And I don't want them to say, "Oh, we can just see the email." That may have what you said, an MDM of we can wipe the phone, and I don't want that. So for $100 or $150, I can get an old cheap phone just to stick Gmail on there and have Gmail for work come there and anything else. Same thing with the computer. You can have you can have another Chromebook if you're going to do something on the side.
Yeah, dual wielding, keeping things really separated. On one hand, it's super annoying, and I get if you're like me and you're basically always working. You're not technically working, but you'll still answer email and take calls if they come in, sort of working. Then you know that having everything loaded on one device makes your life so much easier, and it really does. But if you care at all about the separation, if you want to have, I'm working now, I'm not working now, segmenting those parts of your life, especially digitally, can really help that. It can really say, as soon as you get home, you turn off the work phone, or you turn off the email notifications on the work phone, and you say, okay, if it's an emergency, they can call me, but otherwise, I'm off work. I'm done working today. I'm going to go play video games or play hockey or go out with the kids or go salsa dancing, whatever you like to do. You can keep those lives separate a little bit easier without needing to try to do this weird sharing a machine with both environments in it sort of thing.
And you may win a case where if you accidentally did something, you opened your email on the wrong account, or you accidentally compiled from your work computer, and say, no, but I do have a separate computer. You can see this is really separated. This one oops time, that may win. That you, again, not lawyers, but they may say, okay, it's really hard to do this 100% of the time, but you've clearly shown delineation between work and home, and therefore this was an oops, this was a mistake, this was the cat hitting compile, any of that stuff, and you may actually win your case. Right.
It's a bunch of legal stuff. There's gray all throughout this. There are no hard and fast rules with this, and anything can happen with a good enough lawyer. So, keep this stuff in mind. It's something to think about, just like all of our shows. It's not going to protect you forever. It's not bulletproof, but it's something to think about.
We want your questions. Just be aware that if you ask any lawyer the answers to any of the questions you tweet at us, it's going to be, it depends. So if we get enough questions, we hope to do a question show next week where we try a little more than it depends most of the questions. But there are a lot, and with access and everything else. So if you can send us your questions, do so, and we'll try to answer them with what we think, not what we know, what we think is the right answer. So that's it. That's all we got. We're out of time anyway. So till next week, everybody, we're just going to say bye.
See you, everyone.
Bye. Stop.